Well, hello there. For anybody who hasn't met me yet, my name is Lisa. I am the founder of Funding for Growth and the author of a brand new book called Advanced Grant Writing for Female Founders. The purpose of this video today is to take you through a behind-the-scenes view of what it took to actually create the book. There are a number of women in my community who have been thinking about becoming an author, who've been thinking about publishing a book, and they've asked me to help them to understand the steps that I've taken to be able to publish. Now, the book's not quite ready yet, but it's in its final stages. It certainly has been a journey, and it certainly hasn't been something that I've done alone. I've had a wonderful team around me that has supported me, but let's start at the very beginning. So I took myself on a writing retreat back in 2022. I went and spent 5 days in Glenorchy in New Zealand, staying in a beautiful, beautiful lodge up high in the mountains. This is one of the shots from my Instagram from that time. I highly recommend taking yourself out of your day-to-day. I stayed in a beautiful space. There was some lovely forestry in the neighbouring areas. Even when I got a bit stuck on something that I was writing on any one day, I would just go outside and have a look at the view. And that alone was enough to energize me, to help me tap into what it is that the message that I wanted to share in the book. So I highly recommend taking yourself out of your normal day-to-day and going somewhere where it is inspiring, where you have an opportunity to do some exercise as well as some quiet focus. After coming back from Glenorchy, I then spent some time preparing a framework. I thought that I would also publish or release an online training program to support the book. So what was super interesting was when I got the framework for the book done, I came back and I put together the framework for the online program. It was another opportunity for me to work through the messaging in the book, and did it achieve what I wanted it to achieve? Was it heading in the right direction? I just wasn't quite sure. So I took myself on another writing retreat, this time into Europe. So I spent some time in Italy, and then I spent a couple of weeks in France. Whilst I was over there, I connected with a number of the female or women in business networks, just knuckle down, focus. I wrote every single day. I also got the opportunity to do some exercise. I traveled between different cities. I caught up with some friends whilst I was there. It was a wonderful opportunity again to reset, reflect. Am I heading in the right direction? This is an example of the number of versions and copies that I've done. So I started with, as I mentioned, a framework. I then considered, as I prepared the book, that it was an experiment. I think the clincher for me was so Chris Emery is an editor. Chris has been in my network for quite some years, so I was very aware of Chris and the work that she does with non-fiction writers, and I knew that she worked with first-time authors. As luck would have it, Chris wrote a book and she released it around the same time that I was in my, framework stage. I had done my first version. I started reading Chris's book, and I was convinced then that I definitely needed to work with somebody like Chris to help me get, I guess, those thoughts that swirl around in your mind, like to get them out of your mind and either onto paper. To work with someone like Chris also helped me to build in confidence that what it was that I was creating was in fact good enough, that there was definitely a market, or at least a group of interested readers. Chris was incredibly helpful with helping me to understand what the book needed to do. And she asked some really hard questions that I had to go away and I had to do a little bit of reflection. And I came back to her and then was much clearer about the intention and the purpose, who I thought the readers were, and why this particular book was going to be of value to those readers. So I engaged Chris. So Chris helped me with a developmental edit, which is, I guess, a first view of the framework, the first view of kind of the first version. And she then helped clarify the direction. I then decided to engage Chris for the next stages of editing as well. And she worked with me to develop multiple other versions after that, till it got to where I felt it was at a completed stage and was ready to look at publishing. So I've decided to be a self-publisher. So I'm going down the Amazon self-publishing track, but I do like to be very organised. So I bought myself a Trello template. I think I got it off Etsy potentially, and it helped me to just get the, I guess, the launch process, but the operationalization of the book. So what are the different aspects that I needed to consider, like the design, like where on earth was I going to find a designer? How much was that going to cost me? Do I need an ISBN, and for what purpose? Then around the marketing, like what type of marketing did I want to consider? What would work well for me and support the messaging of the book? Because I was self-publishing, I had to do a big deep dive into Amazon, so Kindle Direct, and there's a lot of really good information there. So if you're thinking about self-publishing yourself, I recommend it, but I also recommend that you give yourself enough time to really deep dive into it and truly understand what it's going to take to self-publish. So when it comes to the design, I just happened across the Australian Book Designers Association, and within that association there are quite a number of members. So I spent a weekend literally just trawling through, profile after profile until I came across Hazel. What inspired me about Hazel was the work that she had done and the awards that she had won. I don't know if you've watched The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart on the streaming services, but I had just finished watching it and it was amazing. So to see that Hazel had done the artwork and the book covers for that particular book, I was thoroughly impressed. I had also read Phosphorescence, so I was super excited to see that Hazel was also the designer behind that. So I reached out to Hazel with a little bit of trepidation, because as a first-time author, you're just never quite sure, should I be going to this expense? Is what I'm producing going to be good enough? And in the end, I decided that I wanted this book to be the best that it could be. So to work with a team or to wrap experts around me in the end was incredibly important, because at each step in the journey, it then helped to reassure me. It helped me to build confidence and to believe that what I'm producing really, has value. So I engaged Hazel, and she worked with me and produced a number of front covers. So if you are on my email list, you will know that I emailed you and asked you to vote on covers. I think there was 10 maybe 8 or 10 in total, different designs that Hazel had prepared for me. And then I asked everybody to vote. And this was the most popular cover. Front cover. So then I went back to Hazel and we just worked on a couple of things. We tweaked a couple of things and then she prepared the full design for me. And I have to say, I am so excited. It is bright, it is fresh, it is eye-catching, and it is exactly what I wanted it to be. So the next step from, the front cover then is getting the internals design. And even that was such a big learning experience for me. My sister's a graphic designer, so I'd had a little bit of experience with, front cover design. And, many years ago, she also did some internal sort of report layouts for me in some of the organisations that I was working with. So I had some idea of what to expect. But when we're talking about a book that's to be published, to be sold on Amazon, it just comes with a different level of importance. I took a little while to get the layout right and to a level that I was super happy with. And you can see this is the latest version, and this is how I communicate with Hazel and ask her for some small tweaks and changes to the layout. But as you can see, I'm super excited. The process with the team, with how it's unfolding, and I really can't wait for it to be available and for you to have it in your hot little hands. So let me just sort of end this video with talking about female founders. Like, the purpose of writing the book is to get more women funded, more women business owners funded, because we're still seeing not enough women funded. We saw a peak in 2020, late 2022, 2023. There was, new investment funds were stood up. We were seeing a lot more women funded, but in recent articles, we're starting to see that there's no follow-on rounds. Those same funds are really struggling to attract more money. I'm conservatively optimistic about what the future holds for women in the investment space. So I'm here to encourage you to double down on the grant opportunities that are available. It's really important that you tap into any of the free money that is currently available in your market, in your city, in your country. Maybe you don't already know this, but by 2030, more than 50% of the global wealth will be held by women, which means that women are poised to inherit a large share of the $30 trillion that will be passed down from the current baby boomers. I stop and I think, and I do wonder, with more money in the hands of women, what on earth will be possible? I happen to believe that women will step into levels of economic power that we have not seen in the history of humankind. We need to see more women like Mackenzie Bezos, Serena Williams, Sarah Blakely become financial supporters and funders to women-led businesses. So why this book? Why now? Advanced Grant Writing for Female Founders is written to support founders like you to seek and secure $100,000 or more in funding. By dissecting a sophisticated funding program, mastering the art of persuasive grant writing, and then stepping into the shoes of a real-world grant assessor, me, founders like you are giving themselves the best chances for success. And in my opinion, we don't yet have enough multi-millionaire entrepreneurs who are women. By joining the priority access waitlist for this book, you're making a commitment to yourself, a commitment to be informed, to be prepared, and to confidently go forward in your funding journey. Follow the links, they'll show you the way. I hope you enjoyed this behind the scenes look. Have an amazing day.